Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you've been wondering what it's like to live in the St. Stephen's northeast side of Hickory, and we have a special treat for you on this video because we're going to take you on a map tour and a vlog driving through these communities. So stick with us, you don't want to miss it.
All right, guys, so what we did in this video, we're going to have an overview of the communities. I drove through Catawba Springs. We're going to go through the Fallen Creek 1 and 2, and then the Huntington Woods. So in this video, like I said, we're going to outline it. Yeah, you're going to see the video portion and then also the driving vlog part of it as well.
We'll take you around on a map. And the reason we chose these communities is all of them are in the St. Stephen's area, which is that northeast side of Hickory that we've described to you through other videos. And they reflect multiple price points that may be within your budget. So Catawba Springs being on the golf course and being a little bit higher end, more expensive homes. Fallen Creek, which is a great family community, very large, established, homes from the 80s, you know, a moderate price point. And then we're gonna take you through Huntington Woods because it's in that 250s price point and they're townhomes. So if you're looking for maintenance-free living and you're a retiree, that may be a good option for you if you're looking in the St. Stephen's area.
Yeah, so and then just to reiterate, we wanted to make a video from different budgets from the top of the St. Stephen's area down to more, entry level. So we wanted to really explore it. And so now we're going to start doing more videos of exploring in the areas in Hickory in depth. So these are three areas that we are going to start off in the St. Stephen area to kick it off with these videos.
Yeah, so let's go. All right, so from a perspective of pulling into Catawba Springs, what was your first impression?
As you're driving towards Catawba Springs and then you just hit this, you see it, you see the sign, and then you enter Catawba Springs.
Everything elevates. Then
you end up in this, what you truly call the hidden gem that's like hidden, tucked away.
Yeah.
And then as you get in there, then you get that country club feel. Then you're in there, you're driving. You notice the golf courses. You see these huge, beautiful homes, brick, newer. Some are there. You notice that some homes were redone, rebuilt, newer homes, and then some are kind of older with the community. I guess when they were built, you kind of notice the flow. The golf course is very well maintained. And then that was kind of the first times I was driving in there because, as you know, we get to know more parts of Hickory and notice how nice and the upkeep was driving through it.
Yeah, and like he described, and this is from a local perspective because I've watched all of this part of these communities evolve over time. And actually, we're going to put up here a link to a video we also published recently that broke down the 4 sections of Hickory. Of course, we're talking about the northeast side of Hickory, and you'll remember in that video that I had pointed out that this Springs Road side of Hickory was at its prime. I feel like that was like a 3rd generation ago, like 3 cycles ago. A lot of finance and love and money went into the development of the Northwest Hickory side. Prior to that, back in the 2000s, all of the development and growth and new constructions going into the southeast side. Northeast was the cycle before that. So at one time, Springs Road was the place. And when Catawba Springs first went up, the most prestigious high-end builders built out there. I mean, it was the parade of homes is what we called it there. With the magazines and the Home Builders Association, they showcased their absolute most beautiful construction projects out there. So when we're doing our tour of these 3 communities in this video today, we're sort of starting at the top. Keep in mind, Springs Road goes directly to McDonald's Parkway, which heads you down to I-40. So you're closer to the Conover side, you're closer to head east if you're wanting to be closer to Charlotte. So already being on the east side of Hickory and that proximity to I-40, it's really a good location in terms of getting quickly to other places. Catawba Springs is actually multiple phases. It has been growing and growing and growing. And so as you can see here, if I start searching for Catawba Springs, there's multiple phases of that. So it is a very large community. Here, what you see is the golf course. Of course, the aerial view from 2022 is not so great, but it's a really nice golf course. It is a 27-hole golf course designed by William Byrd, and that is one of the highlights of that community. The required HOA dues for Catawba Springs is $100 a year, which that only covers like common area maintenance. That's not your club memberships. And we won't get into today the specific fees about, to play golf and social memberships and different, because those things do change over time. But the thing I want to point out about Catawba Springs, of all the communities that we're going to go over today, and we are specifically looking at those St. Stephen's areas, Catawba Springs is one of the more prestigious, being that it's on a golf course, being that it's considered a country club of sorts. It's very connected. You can see here, Catawba Springs has its own neighborhood page. They have their own Facebook page. So you can actually get a lot of information online just from their own community resources. So you can see it's a very active community. They have little newsletters. They have, just like little links to all the covenants and all the different rules. One thing I want to point out about Catawba Springs is depending on what phase you are in, the different rules apply. So this is phase 1, this is phase 2. So as you can see, there are multiple phases of Catawba Springs, as you can see from the GIS. Different parts of the community, it is a rather large community, but different areas of the community have different rules. So as a general rule of thumb, you're going to see larger homes in Catawba Springs. In fact, I think the covenants, when it was first established, said it had to be at least 2,000 square feet. You're looking at brick homes. There's not a lot of vinyl allowed out there. Good schools, and all the schools of the communities that we're going to be talking about today. Of course, we're talking about St. Stephen's. All of these communities fall within the St. Stephen's High School District. But because there's more elementary schools than there are high schools, different communities have different elementary schools. Catawba Springs falls in the Snow Creek Elementary School. There's quite a bit of market activity out there. You'll notice of the 3 communities that we're showcasing today, as we are looking in on the St. Stephen's area, there's the most market activity in Catawba Springs compared to the others. It is a larger community. It's the higher price point of the communities that we're going to be going over today. You can see here, these are larger homes. They're ranging, there's some that are a little cheaper, but on average, they're in that $500,000 to $600,000 mark. Overall, Catawba Springs considered a very prestigious community, higher price point, very well-built homes, on the golf course, close proximity to I-40 and all the different areas that you'd want to be in. This is what it's like in the St. Stephen's community of Catawba Springs.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Living in North Carolina channel, your ultimate guide to everything North Carolina. Whether you're curious about daily life here or looking for the best places to explore, we've got it all covered. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Be sure to hit the like button to help others find our channel. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so that you never miss a video. We're Adriano and Katie, and we're local real estate agents with a dedicated team ready to help you make your move to North Carolina. Whether you prefer to chat via text, phone call, or email, we're here to guide you every step of the way. You can even schedule an appointment using the calendar link below. So no matter how you choose to reach out, know that our team has your back when it comes to making the move to North Carolina.
All right, so now we're going into Fallen Creek 1 and 2. It's tucked away in the St. Stephen's area, very popular by demand. A lot of folks seem to be attracted to going into Fallen Creek because we get asked about it quite often with certain clients that we've had. They've looked into it.
If you're on 27 and you can get down there through 29th, and I think 37th takes you as well, but it's actually kind of close to the northwest side of Hickory. It kind of falls on that line. We're tipping into the northeast because in the St. Stephen's High School.
Like Tabernacle's there.
Yeah, Tabernacle, private schools there, a neighborhood Walmart, things like that. If you're on 127 and you go down Fallen Creek Road, you get to this little intersection here on 37th. And let me show you what happens at 37th Avenue Northeast. And yes, that is how we name things in Hickory. At this cross section, you got Fallen Creek 1 on your right and Fallen Creek 2 on your left. So literally a community that is split right down the middle by a road called Fallen Creek Road. To kind of paint a picture of what Fallen Creek is like, obviously Fallen Creek 1, a little bit older than Fallen Creek 2. These are all homes from mostly the 70s and 80s. So describe, as you pulled into the neighborhood, what was 1 versus 2? How did it feel?
So 1's the one with the pool, right? 1's the one with the pool. So let's start with 2 because I made a right. You pass the cemetery, and then you're gonna pass the cemetery after Tabernacle. There's a cemetery, then you hit the Fallen Creeks, and I made a right. So as we drove through Fallen Creek 2, we're going into it. We're pulling in. I know it's kind of, the streets kind of wind a little bit. Mm-hmm. So
very hilly.
Very hilly, and then and it kind of winds, so you can't really see the other cars coming around the curb. And the one thing that I noticed, if I was a parent That's one thing that would kind of, as a parent, that's one thing that I would be like, I don't know if I want the girls out on the road, because if they're playing on the street, these cars can come winding around, and I go, they can't see them.
It doesn't have sidewalks out there, right?
And it doesn't have sidewalks, so I thought that was kind of a detractor for me, noticing right off the bat. I noticed that it kind of winds around on this particular side. So if you have children, on that main one, you may want to be like, that might be something that might detract. However, now you're going into it, and then it veers off into cul-de-sacs. The cul-de-sacs now, if you wanted a house in the cul-de-sac, I think it would be okay, because then you have the cul-de-sac, the kids kind of play in that. So it kind of does a straight line, and then it just veers off into different cul-de-sacs. The houses that I noticed, there's a lot of 2-level homes. I noticed some 1-level homes. So it was a good mix. It was a pretty good mix in what I saw. And then there was some area that there's some land that hasn't been built. So I don't know if there's any plans on building anymore. Quiet neighborhood. I noticed there was some kid stuff outside. So I said in the cul-de-sacs one thing, but I was only worried about the main road.
Yeah. Falling Creek has multiple phases, and you can tell there's been growth and more growth and more growth, because as he described, you could take a left or a right. You're going to head into Falling Creek, and you're kind of going to go down a hill, and then it just branches off. I mean, it just almost indefinitely, it feels like. It's huge. So there's a lot of homes out there, a lot of phases, different, like I said, there's older homes, 70s, 80s, but well maintained and less restrictions. They can be a little smaller in Falling Creek. You can build a 1,600 square foot house out there, versus in Catawba Springs, they have to be 2,000 square feet. It has to be brick in Catawba Springs, versus you can have vinyl. So obviously a lower price point in Falling Creek, very price accessible for families, lots of 4-bedroom homes out there. Good schools, good family neighborhood. I think that's what you see out there, is you can get a lot of square footage, bang for your buck.
Now, going out of Falling Creek to the other side on one, I noticed as you go straight across, now it's more linear. It wasn't as curvy. I noticed it's more linear. It's like, okay, so if I have the kids out, it's not bad, because now they can see the cars, and you can kind of have little children out playing, because as you know, they like to play in the streets, and they can run back in. Sometimes, as we know, also had cul-de-sacs in there. I noticed a little bit more 1-level homes there. I did notice that. Okay. There were a little bit more, a lot more foliage, a lot more trees. So it was kind of, you can tell it was a little older.
That was phase 1. That was
so
the
phase
first
1,
falling.
And obviously this is when we're recording this in the fall, so the leaves were kind of coming down. Probably super pretty as soon as the beginning of the leaves phase out, go into phase of color changing. But so we went down. We drove down. Here's the thing. I went down, and then you end up seeing this field to the right as you keep just going straight. I noticed this field, and I go, that's a pretty big field. And then we notice a basketball court. I go, there's a basketball court, and it looks like it's got some like moss and whatever. It looks like it hasn't been
kind of not maintained as well.
Not maintained. And then I went to the very end, and then there's houses on the left, and I see this pool. I go, that cannot be the community pool. It looks like something out of a movie. Like you go down, and there's like this end pool, and
it's at the end of the street.
At the bottom, and goes down this hill, and this is lifeguard on duty. But then I noticed, I go, wow, that pool does not look maintained. So it looked green. Maybe it's because of the fall.
So I don't want to be hating on Falling Creek's pool. I don't know. Maybe beautiful in the summer. But maybe when we went out there, it was.
Maybe it could have just been,
kind of not maintained.
Because in North Carolina, people usually have their pool seasons is
Memorial Day to Labor Day. Yeah.
So that's kind of the season, and they shut it down, but didn't have a cover on it. So that might be that was just what I saw.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in that.
Some people forget there's even a pool out there.
Yeah, it was kind of tucked in the way back. But like I said, the area, the neighborhood is really nice. Again, you go up the main street, and then you veer off, and you start going off to the right. I noticed cul-de-sacs again. Nice homes, pretty area, lots of trees. Really, like I said, scenic. Like I said, in the fall, if you kind of had that fall feel, spring is probably nice and pretty, nice and green. Keeps it shaded, nice and cool. That's what I did notice. If that's something that's important or something you want to look for, and like the trees to keep in the summer nice and cool, that's what I kind of noticed in that feel.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nice.
That's one of the things that when we say an established community, in my mind, when I'm defining that and why there's a positive to that, is because the newer communities and developments that they're putting up, like this year and last year and just in recent years, they parcel these lots off so small. And so they stack these little homes side by side on 0.18 acres. They all look the same. When they developed Falling Creek and these communities that maybe were established in the 70s, the 80s, in construction, even continuing into the 90s and beyond, larger lots, the trees have grown. It feels, as I said, established. Like it's not like cookie cutter, everything's all on top of one another. It's a little more like rolling hills. Everybody's lawn's a little bigger. You don't feel like you're right on top of your neighbor. And I think that's a pattern you see in the newer communities is these developers come in, they buy a parcel of land and they cram as many homes as they can on it. I get it. It's a cost-effective way to do it. But in these established communities, you enjoy a little breathing room, I think, because most of these lots are like half an acre or so, which I think for some areas, and comment below if in your where you live, if half an acre is a lot. That's to me like a normal size home lot. And some people are like, wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that to me would be just like a normal, like a nice spacious lot. So that's kind of what you find in Falling Creek, and that's when we describe like established. If you're looking for like a super state-of-the-art community pool, Falling Creek may not be it. If you live in Falling Creek and you want to comment below and share with us if you've been in the pool, if you've enjoyed it during the summer, maybe it looks amazing, please tell us. Like, we're not at all trying to pass judgment on it.
That's what I see.
The day we went out there, it looked like that. So share with us if we're wrong. I'm sure you will. But would love to get your opinion on it. So Falling Creek has covenants and restrictions for each phase of Falling Creek. There are multiple sections, and if you're buying a home this applies for any community in anywhere you would relocate. This is why you need a realtor. We're happy to help you with this if you're moving to Hickory, because we know these areas very well. Hickory, Charlotte, we can help you with any of this. But it's important because there are covenants and restrictions associated with how you can use your property and what you can do on that property, what type of fence you can put up, what type of mailbox you may be able to have, if you can have chickens or not. Like, there's rules. And literally sometime within the same community, you'll have different rules. How big your house needs to be if you're to build on one of those lots. Just things like that. So keep in mind, and you see how old these are. Guys, we pull these from the Register of Deeds. This is the kind of stuff that realtors do to make sure that you're making an informed decision about what you're buying. But you can see here, there's rules saying, hey, in this community, you can't have anything less than 1,600 square feet, stuff like that. So same as Catawba Springs having their rules, which are bigger homes, more restrictions. This is just one step beneath that. Falling Creek, they have their rules too. This is that cross section where you have Falling Creek 1, Falling Creek 2 to your left and right. There's the pool down there. There's a $400 fee just to join their HOA. And there's a $350 yearly fee to be a member of their HOA for the pool and for all of that. And the pool membership, it actually has its own rules, and it's 4 pages worth of rules. So again, know what you're buying, know what you're getting, know what the rules are with that. Something that some people may not know. In fact, this was new to me as well as I was kind of looking into all of this. The option to be a member of the pool membership is not just for the Falling Creek communities. You either need to live in Falling Creek 1, Falling Creek 2, or Woodwinds and Winding Creek, which are nearby communities. So if you're looking at homes in that area and you want to be able to use the pool in Falling Creek, you actually can, if you live in Woodwinds or Winding Creek as well. So, just one of those interesting things. I'll pull up here on my screen just to show you market activity. This shows you the last 6 months in Falling Creek of what has been listed, sold, pending. You can see there's not a lot of turnover in this community. I think that's a good sign when you have people that they like it there. They don't want to move necessarily. And you're looking at homes that are generally in the 300 to 400. So again, we're just taking one step down from Catawba Springs because there's no golf course on this one. Older homes, 60s, 70s, 80s. Some of these really fixed up nice. This was one of the more expensive ones in Falling Creek that I thought would show you. There's some updates in some of these that maybe make them a little more expensive. This one's currently on the market for $424, but you can kind of see this is the type of homes that you get out there. A little more dated, some split foyers, lots of basements because you're on a hill. A lot of this is on a hill. Again, Clyde Campbell Elementary School, Arndt Middle School, St. Stephen's. So homes that a lot of people raise their families in. Generally when you're looking at property, sometimes you forfeit the newness of the home for the size of the home. So if you have a certain budget and you need a lot of space, you're probably going to get an older home. If you have a certain budget and you don't need it to be huge, well, you're going to get a smaller home. It's just going to be more expensive because the price per square foot is going to be more. So, you kind of see that trade-off. And I would say Falling Creek kind of falls in that mid-range where the lots are about half an acre. So you got a little bit of space, a lot of trees, very established. And you can see here on these listings, these are all sitting on about half an acre, some more. So, bigger homes, 3-4 bedroom homes, good for families. Again, it's a great community, and that's, a little more dated, but it's been around for a long time. And based off the fact that there's not a huge amount of market turnover, market activity and turnover and people coming and going, people stay put. So they do maintain their value. They are decent size. They're all in a good school district. So that's kind of what you're going to see in Falling Creek. So hopefully that paints a good picture of what you get out there. So guys, before we jump into Huntington Woods, if you've gotten value out of this video, be sure to like and subscribe and ring the notification bell so that you get informed of videos as we put them out in the future. Huntington Woods. If you're looking for a townhouse community in Northeast Hickory, you may want to consider Huntington Woods. So you drove in there. What was your first impression?
Drove in. So as we're driving in, so there's a nice little neighborhood right before, and I thought I was in Huntington Woods, and it wasn't. It's the neighborhood that before you get into it, really nice, really quiet. I'm like, oh, this is really nice. Pretty, one-level homes. Just a nice little nook before you drive in. There's just a nice little neighborhood, and then you see this little sign, Huntington Woods, and you drive in it very quick. I went right around, and I noticed they're all one color, all brown, like wood siding. You get in there.
Little brick 80s.
Yeah, all one color, all stuck. You see them like this, and the next one next to that. So it's kind of like this one door. Here's the next one
they
next
have
to it.
Cool pitched roof lines.
Yeah, so it's kind of angled. Really interesting. You went in there, you got parking around the front. I noticed that everybody parks like in the parking in the front, and you kind of go around in a loop. And as you go around this loop, I'm not sure if they got a pool. I'm not sure they do.
They have a little community pool.
So I didn't.
And a gazebo.
So I missed that because I just drove in it. And then as I come around the loop, then you see these mailboxes, and you see all the community mailboxes that are all there. Very simple, very quaint, tucked away. Again, you gotta go through this neighborhood to get to it. So it seems pretty quiet. Simple, very easy.
Yeah, so townhomes really appeal to retirees a lot of times because for one, these are one-level townhomes. Most of them are 2-bedroom, and you don't really have to worry about taking care of your own yard or having to worry about, paying for all the extra things that you would associate with homeownership, like trash and recycling and, having the pool maintenance. Now, you pay for it, but it's paid as part of your HOA dues. So the HOA dues out there are $223 a month. So as you're planning what you want to spend on your monthly payment, if you're going to be getting a mortgage, add that into it, because while it will offset some of your other expenses, because you're not paying for trash pickup, you're not paying for recycling, you're not paying for a landscaper, it will be part of the upkeep for the property. So that's something to consider. But yeah, it's a very desirable townhouse community. One thing that's kind of interesting about Huntington Woods, and they just put this into effect in 2013, if you are purchasing this with the intent of being rental property, they actually have a rule in their covenants that you have to live there for 2 years before you can rent it out. So consider that if you're looking at this as an investment property, you have to occupy it for a couple years, because their intent for that community is not to be a bunch of renters. They want residents there. Right. So in order to discourage that, people from just buying them and renting them out, they added that rule into their covenants in 2013. So, keep that in mind. It could be a good long-term investment. You could buy it, live there, have it in your name for a couple years, and then rent it out. So, something to consider. But I just thought I'd point that out because you couldn't just immediately rent those out. Huntington Woods is a collection of, I believe, about 60 or 80-ish units, basically. And you can see here on the map that they're organized as such in these little clusters. Huntington Woods, they are townhomes. And you can see, these guys were built in the 80s. And you can tell, from the outside, they look like they're built in the 80s. They're brick, though. And they're consistently in that 250 to 270 range. Almost all of them, maybe, in fact, truly all of them, are 2 bedrooms. Some have 1 bath, some have 2 baths. But they're all about 1,400 to 1,600 square feet. So you're gonna have very similar, not as much variation in what you're getting out there. So the comps are all pretty on the money of what they're worth. And you can see here, as of in the last 6 months, there's only been 1 townhouse that is sold out there. Again, there's not a lot of turnover. That one sold for $240,000. There's 4 on the market right now, so people are selling them. and I'll be able to tell you why here in a minute, because there's been some interesting developments nearby of Huntington Woods. Those are listed anywhere from $229,900 to $275,000. And I'll show you this one that's listed for $275,000. It's been heavily remodeled inside, so you can see there's, of course, what your price point is out there is going to reflect kind of what's going on the inside as well. But just to kind of give you a good broad overview as we're kind of looking at the map, there's our Falling Creek Road. As you can kind of see, we're still in that same northeast side of Hickory, the St. Stephen's area. This is the Huntington Woods townhomes right here. So you may ask, what is all of this? This may be why some people are selling. That used to be a golf course, and it was purchased by a developer, and now they are developing this with lots of homes. So you'll see here on this map, I'm going to pan over. You see this? Looks like a golf course that's been subdivided. Well, that's what it is. It was a golf course that was purchased and then subdivided. So that's, right behind Huntington Woods, which is not a detriment by any stretch, but it certainly has changed the dynamic of what is around the property. So that may be a deterrent to some people. It is still within the St. Stephen's High School area. Your elementary school is St. Stephen's Elementary School, and you're still in the Arndt Middle School. So one thing I want to point out about Huntington Woods, as with many townhome communities, there is an HOA. And it is mandatory. It's actually $223 a month. So you have to consider that if you're looking at your budget and what you want to spend and what your mortgage will be. Keep in mind that different townhome communities and condo communities, and there is a difference between a townhome and a condo, and we could get into a whole thing about that. They offer different things, and they have different fees, and what you get differs between each community. And one thing to keep in mind as well, and this is actually something I happen to have some knowledge about with Huntington Woods, if there is a assessment, meaning if there's, say, the gazebo needs a new roof or something like that, it can be imposed on the property. So you want to make sure you have good guidance and representation when you're purchasing a property, because that's the type of discovery that a fiduciary, an advocate like a real estate agent would perform for you to investigate, because sellers are required to disclose that. In North Carolina, it's a buyer beware state. So keep that in mind too. That's why we like to do these map videos and go over in depth about that. And that's also why we encourage you, as we said before, if you see value in these videos, stay connected with us on this channel, because there's going to be insights that we can give to you, because we're here and we live here and we know the community. So whether you're buying in North Carolina or any other state, we highly recommend having an advocate here to, get this information for you, because that's things you wouldn't necessarily know. Another thing that's interesting about Huntington Woods, they don't just have covenants, they have a homeowner's handbook, which you don't actually see very often. So I wanted to share that on my screen. There's 12 pages of information about what's covered, what is not, when the meetings take place, where to take your trash, how the pool and the gazebo works, courtesies that they ask about pets, just stuff like that. So I just found that very interesting. I love seeing communities that are structured enough to have that sense of direction and standards, because it helps protect your property as well. So I think they've done a really good job they have a handbook for the people that live there. And this has not replaced the covenants. There's true recorded declaration of covenants and restrictions on the deed that these homes have to be subject to. But this is like a little handbook. If you do decide to live out there and you want to know very quickly about who's going to trim the bushes, and how many feet back do I have to be from the property line, and where do I take my trash, and what days do recycling fall on, they have a handbook. So I thought that was really cool. So doing this little tour today has hopefully given you kind of a snapshot of some different price points all in the St. Stephen's area, with 3 very different types of lifestyles and living and what it offers, and what life feels like. We do a lot of these meetings with folks that will kind of drive through virtually. It kind of lets you get an idea of what that feels like before you make a trip out here and look around. So thank you for joining us today. We hope you found this content helpful to you. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be alerted of new videos as they come up. But also comment below. We want to hear from you guys. If you found this video helpful and there's other areas that you'd like us to really showcase the way we did in this format, comment below with specific areas, because we'll go out there and film footage on the ground, provide supplemental map coverage of it, and then just our own conversational piece about our experience there, our impressions of it, and maybe that's helpful to you. So we'd love to hear from you, and we'd like to know what type of content you find helpful.